tussle got up, ran on again. But unknown to them, that beach was being watched by satellites and drones. And they analysed the blurry video footage of 4 blobs moving over the beach, and they concluded that this was consistent with an alien military invasion. So what they did is that they launched a remote-controlled drone, and an IDF operative in a room somewhere guided this drone to the beach, got a very blurry image, pursued it, chased it down the beach and killed it. And then it turned around and chased the second one, and then the third one, and the fourth one. And those boys were aged 12 and 13. And those were the 4 militants killed in Gaza. And I tell you this story because we must never lose our humanity and remember all the victims of these terrible wars. But I also tell this because there's lessons to be learned from this. The nature of warfare has changed. Go back to 1961 and President Dwight Eisenhower coined the term military-industrial complex. And he was talking about the very close, cosy relationship between the US military and the big manufacturers like Lockheed Martin and Boeing and Raytheon and General Dynamics and the rest, who were guaranteed billions of dollars to keep supplying the ships and the planes and the rockets and the bombs. And what Eisenhower was worried about was what he called the unwarranted influence of this group through all branches of government. What that means is that not only did these companies find that wars were very profitable, but if you wanted to make bigger profits, you needed more wars. And that meant getting into government and influencing government. And that carried on. I think they spent $40 billion a year in 1961. This year it's $925 billion a year being spent on armaments. Now that figure isn't just on the bombs and the planes and the ships, because warfare's changed. And you've only got to follow the news now. It's all about autonomous weapons, it's about drones, it's about surveillance, and it's about intelligence. And we have seen this shift, that the old military-industrial complex is now on the second tier. On the first tier are all the AI bosses. And you've only got to go back to Trump's inauguration, and the seats that are reserved there traditionally reserved for close family members, were filled by Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Sam Altman and all the rest of them. And when Trump went to Beijing just a few days ago and climbed down the steps of Air Force One, who was behind him? Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook of Apple, Microsoft. These are the people closest to the president at the moment. And on the 1st of May this year, the Pentagon announced it had signed special agreements with the 7 leading AI companies, including Google and Microsoft and all the rest. And these special deals basically cemented them in to the Pentagon. They would get guaranteed Pentagon contracts. All they had to do in exchange was to give up any control whatsoever over the technology they created. So they could not complain about where it was used or how it was used. They couldn't even complain if they knew it was unsafe to use. If the military got it, they could get it, and they could do what they want with it. Only one company held out, a company called Anthropic. And they said in all conscience they could not allow their products to be used in situations where they were unsafe. Now that seems like a fairly good argument, right? The Pentagon didn't think so. The Pentagon immediately cancelled a $200 million contract with Anthropic and gave it to their arch rivals, OpenAI. They then declared them a supply chain risk. This is one step below full sanctions. It's only ever been applied to companies in hostile countries. This is the first American company ever to be given this designation, and it effectively blacklists that company from not only any Pentagon work, but any work with any supplier of the Pentagon and probably any supplier of the US government. It's basically killing that company because they wouldn't allow it to use unsafe reasons. Aotearoa this week, when Nicola Willis announced these slashes to government spending to bring in loads of AI. That isn't an administrative improvement. That isn't an economic solution. That is the military AI complex, spreading its unwarranted influence out from America into our government and the way we run this country, and so that we can provide, our government can provide the surveillance information that the US military wants. That's what it's about. The second thing is that using technology, a military force using technology it knows to be unsafe isn't military action, this isn't war, this is terror, this is terrorism. So to use weapons on a civilian population that you are not able to control is creating terror. So it's the Americans and it's the Pentagon who are the terrorists here, and we mustn't forget that. But finally, it also explains in a little sense about those 4 boys in Gaza on the beach, because that technology was totally defective, totally inappropriate. And that's what happens if you use technology in that way. So just to finish, we must remember those 4 boys and we must learn the lessons from their death. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.